Hey, welcome back. How's it going, everyone? Well, today I'm going to be talking about Django, and a lot of you probably heard the term Django, and if you don't, then here's a small explanation. Django is a framework, a web framework that belongs to Python programming language. Everything in Django is written in Python, and we make website, especially very robust, complex web application using Django. So if I give you an example, like a similar software that are available on the market, then I can certainly say that Spring Boot is one of a kind that can relate to Django in terms of flexibility, robustness, and feature richness. And Boot Spring falls into the Java programming language, Java line. For Python, it's Django, and for PHP, it's Laravel, or there are some other frameworks called Cake PHP and all that thing. But we're not going to be talking about all those things. We're going to specially focus on Django. So what is Django? I've already explained. And please make note, this is not a beginner's lecture or course. If you may, I would expect that you know Python in full if you want to learn Django or have anything to do with Django. So if not, then this is not your lecture or video. You can skip right ahead. So I have opened my integrated development environment. I happen to use like and love VS Code from Microsoft because, hey, well, it has tons of extension. I can pretty much get help for any programming language I wanted to work on. So when you open VS Code, this is what you're going to see. Well, I'm not, like I said earlier, that I'm not going to be going into details on how to install this, that, and how to make all those small changes to make VS Code Python compatible. Like I said earlier, that I would assume that you already know how to do all this thing. This is an advanced lecture, so follow along. So I have my IDE open, and I'm going to open my terminal holding down my control and backtick. And there we have it. As you can see, my path that I'm on my D drive and web development and the Django project. So Django project is simply a folder I have created on my somewhere in my D drive, and everything relating to Django I'm going to be storing in this project. So the very first thing that we need to do is to create a virtual environment, because in Django or in any other web framework, there are two scopes, local and global. So if you install, let's say, a package without creating a virtual environment, that package will be installed in the global scope. So for any other application you develop, you're going to have that package available, which is going to cost overhead. We don't need that. So we're going to create virtual environment, and on that virtual environment we're going to develop our project, and for that particular project, whatever we need, it's going to be installed locally, particularly for that project only. And that is the reason why we create virtual environment. So I'm going to create virtual environment for the demonstration purpose, so follow along. So I'm going to type python -m venv space venv. Make sure you've got no typo like vnev or anything vice versa, because it's gonna create trouble down the road. So now I'm gonna double check, make sure that I've got everything the way I wanted. I'm satisfied. Now I'm gonna hit enter, and when I do, you'll see that I now have a folder called venv. If I expand it, then you'll see that it got some other subfolders, and it has some other files into it, like it has PEEP, activation, PS1, and all this kind of thing. So we don't need to know about them. Just know that it's these files and these folders what makes virtual environment the way it is. So now that we have the virtual environment, it's not activated yet. We have to activate it. So this is how we do that. venv backslash scripts backslash activate dot ps1. ps stands for PowerShell. Okay, so now if I hit enter, hopefully it will work. but it didn't. It seems like we've got some issues there, so I'm just going to clear my terminal and try it one more time. So it's venv backslash scripts backslash activate dot PowerShell 1. Hit enter. There we have it. So why it didn't work the first time? Maybe because I had some typo, because I'm talking and typing at the same time. So now, how would you know that your virtual environment has been activated? Look over here. It says venv in grill in parentheses, which means we have successfully installed a virtual environment into our project. So there's another way we can check to make sure that our venv is all empty, and this is how we do it. We type pip, which is a Python installation manager, then a space, then we type freeze, enter. It returned the virtual environment path again, which means we do not have anything installed into our virtual environment. It's fresh. So now everything is pretty much set. We can go ahead and install Django. So let's clear my terminal window like so, and I'm going to type pip install Django. Hit enter. And as you can see, the downloading process has been initiated, and it will install Django along with all the dependencies that Django requires to work. And once it's done, it will return as the venv path. I'm going to clear the window, and we have successfully installed Django into our system. So I'm just going to double check to make sure that we have it. So I'm going to type pip freeze, hit enter. We've got some typo again, so again pip freeze, hit enter. There you go. So now we see that we've got Django 4.2.3 and all the dependencies installed into our virtual environment. So now we can start creating projects. So let's clear my terminal window, go back on top, and I'm going to type now that we have actually Django installed, we now have another command line utility that we can implement or use to take advantage of it. It's like this Django admin. We didn't have it before installing Django into our system, but now we do. Now that we have installed Django into our system, we have access to this property, and it's called Django admin. So we type Django admin space start project, then we're going to name our project. So in my case, I'm going to name my project Zane, then I'm going to add a space, then dot. It's very important when you create a project, the root project, you type your project name, whatever it is, then you add a space, then a dot, which is going to install or initiate or generate your very first root Django project into the root directory, not into the subdirectory. So, and hit enter. And now, as you can see, that we've got a folder called Ozane into my root folder. Now, if I expand it, then you'll see that I've got a bunch of files over here. So we don't really need to know at this very moment what they do. Just know that these are very important, and these are all the Django files that we need to make our project work. So now I need an app. So what is an app? Well, every functionality in Django is an individual app. For an example, you create an account in Facebook and then you log in. So that functionality falls into an app in Django. Then you have, let's say, you can update your status, you can upload image, and you can do many different things. That also falls into a different app that's called user activity. Then you can run ads into Facebook. All you people that you do affiliate marketing are into Facebook ads, so you know what I'm talking about. So that is also an app. So every single functionality is an app in Django. So we're gonna have to create an app, and the way we do it is this: Django admin, one more time, start app, and we're gonna name our app. This time I'm gonna name it pages, because every app should have pages. Like we're gonna have an index page where people come and whether they register, log in, and we're gonna redirect them. So whatever we wanted to do, any kind of application, all application has a landing page. And that's the reason why the very first app that I create to begin with is a pages app. So let's expand. As you can see that we've got different files over here. So now we need to, I can install it now or I can also install it down the road, but I'm gonna install it right now, right off the bat, just to get over with it. And that is database driver. Django tends to work very well with PostgreSQL, but well, it does not have to be PostgreSQL. It could be any database of your choice, but it has to be relational database. I've been using with MySQL database for a very long time, so I'm just going to stick with it and make my Django application blend in with MySQL database. So I need an adapter so that Django or Python can talk to my MySQL database. So the very first thing that I would like to do is to open my local server, that is XAMPP, that I tend to use to write PHP code, and it has the MySQL database pre-installed, so I don't need to do anything else. I'm going to simply start my server and the database, and that should be good to go. And this will enable Django to talk to the MySQL database. So I'm done over here. I'm going to minimize it. Now I'm going to type pip install MySQL client, hit enter, and the installation, as you can see, it says that successfully installed MySQL client 2.2.0 CLS. Okay, so now we kind of have pretty much everything that we need, except we need to have a file on my pages app, um, which is called urls.py. I don't know why they do not include it into the pages app. They should, because this is where we define our routes. But as you can see, our project folder do have this urls.py. It's just that we have to make this file manually on pages, whereas it should be a part of like a default file for every app, because on every app we need to define routes. What is route? Well, like I said earlier, you should already know a lot of things. Route is where we define the URL patterns. So we're going to get to that very, very later, not right now. So what are we doing? Where are we? So I have the root project and the pages app. So now I'm going to go to the root project, Django root Ozane, and the settings.py file, and we're going to have to do some coding here. The very first thing that I'm going to do is to get rid of all the comments. We don't need that. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit enter. No, let's leave it for later on. Let's scroll down just a little bit, and installed app. This section, every time we create an app, we have to register it. No matter what it is, apps should be registered. As you can see that Django comes by default with many kind of like apps. For example, admin that works with the backend auth and session message and all these things. So let's register our apps. So I'm going to type pages.apps.pages config. Now you might wonder, don't forget your trailing comma or it's going to give you an error. So where do I get all this thing? Well, the very first thing is pages. This is the name of our app, and we are putting it into the app section and page config where we're getting it from. So I'm going to show it to you right now. So if I open apps.py, then you'll see that it has a class, and that class has a property called pages. This is where we're getting it from, and the class name is page config, and we are putting all the information that we have got from this apps.py file belonging to pages app. So now I'm just going to continue to scroll down over here. Okay, so we're gonna have to define the path for the static assets. What does that mean? Means every, like, for all of our HTML file, we create a folder called templates, but Django has no idea where is that file or the folder is located. So this is where we define that path. So let's first create the folder. I'm gonna call it template, hit enter. So let's call it template or templates. Let's call it template. So now we're gonna have to define the path. We're gonna have to map it so that Django can locate the folder. So this is how you would want to go ahead and do that. So we're gonna type os.path.join, then parentheses, get inside, and I'm gonna type base underscore dir, put a comma, space, single quote, and template. And as you can see that I've got a red line underneath OS. And if I hover over my mouse there, it will tell you that undefined variable OS. OS is not defined. So Django has no idea what am I talking about here because we did not import that module here. So I'm just going to go all the way top and I'm going to type import OS, and that's it. Now let's go back and you'll see that it's gone. It's now green, which means that we're all good to go. Now scroll down gradually, and over here as to the database section. So as you can see that by default Django assumes that we're going to be working with SQLite 3, which is not the case. I'm just going to get rid of it and I'm going to type MySQL and remove everything that you see over here, single quote, and I'm gonna quickly duplicate this line a couple of times and you'll see why. So the name of the database, I've named my database Django, and then user, yeah, user. Who's the user? Default is root. Root is the default user for MySQL. And then host should be local host, that is also default. And then password, I'm just going to leave it empty because I did not set any password for my database. And port, you can also leave it empty. So what else? Scroll down a bit, scroll down. Static URLs is static. We don't have that, we haven't created it yet, but we're going to be creating that static folder on the root directory, which is Ozane. So I'm going to call it static and hit enter. So, and go back to my settings.py file. So what is this static? Well, static is where we're going to be loading JavaScript files, CSS files, images, fonts, and all kind of stuff. So I'm going to type static root equals os path join, then get inside, base underscore dir, then single quote, and I'm going to be typing static and hit enter, and I'm going to type static files underscore dir as equals a list, get inside. I'm gonna be typing os dot path dot join, parentheses, get inside, single quote, and I'm gonna type ozane slash static, and of course we need to have a trailing comma over here because it's a list. And indentation is very important in Python, so you can't just leave it like that and hope that it will work. It won't, it will throw you some error. So that looks nice. So now we're gonna have to add the media folders path. So I'm gonna type media URL equals os.path.join, then I'm going to get inside base underscore dir, comma, Then I'm going to type double quote, and I'm going to type media. That'll do. And media underscore root equals space double quote media trailing slash, and that'll do the job. So now media, where is the media? We don't even see it. Now we're going to right click over here and create a folder and name it media, and that will hook up this media folder with Django. Now Django knows where is our media folder is located. What do we do with that folder? Well, we we can have many different subfolders inside and have different media objects like images, videos, and all kind of stuff. So now that's done. So as far as setting up our settings page we're concerned, we are pretty much done with it. So now what we can do, we can start creating our the very first page. So now I'm gonna go to the urls.py, remove all the comments there. So we have to register our app over here one more time. It's not app but the app's URL. So this is how we do it. We type path parentheses get inside single quote. I'm going to leave it as it is because I want my clients to visit the landing page first, and in order to do that we leave this parentheses empty. Then I'm going to type include get inside single quote, and I'm going to type pages.urls, so which means please include pages url.py file into the main url.py file. So now if you see over here that I've got a red line underneath this include keyword, which means that Django has no idea what that is. So I'm just gonna import it and it will disappear like so. So include this function belongs to the Django URLs, which makes it easy for us to remove all kinds of problems. So that's all done. Now we're gonna hit urls.py, and urls.py we're gonna type from Django urls import path, and we're gonna type from the current folder import views, and we're gonna type where are we urls path. Okay, we're gonna type url patterns equals should be a list, and we're gonna type path parentheses single quote, we're going to type views.index, add a comma, name should be equals single quote index, and we're going to add a comma over here. And now you see we got a red line here. It's because we have created this view method called index but we haven't really created it, but we have declared it only. So now let's go to the view.py file and create it. And over here we're gonna, this is how you define or create or declare view method. We type def. This is how you create function index. It takes the request parameter, a colon to end my statement with, hit enter, and this will has a statement called return render parentheses, and this will take the request parameter space, and now we have to include the path, and I'm going to type pages / index.html. So we have defining the path where this index.html path is located. So template, we don't have anything down there, so we're gonna first create a folder there, and I'm gonna name it pages, And let's create another folder or a file. Let's create a file and let's name it base.html. Okay, you don't have to know why we have created this base.html at this moment, just bear with me. So now I'm going to go to the pages folder, right click, new file, index.html, hit enter, and we have created an index.html file. So now I'm gonna, all right, let's have h1 for now. So well, let's type something, welcome to Django. That should be small. So now let's go to the urls.py file. It seems like we're still having an issue over here, views.index. It says that has no index member, but it should. And let's go to over here, pages. Everything seems to be working fine. So now if I now everything is pretty much set, we should be able to render this welcome to Django if everything is going right. So I'm going to type um, python manage.py run server, and like everything did not go well. That's why we've got some error message. It said does not appear to have any pattern in it. urls.py pages urls.py does not appear to have. Okay, we have some issue at pages url.py. So we made a spelling mistake here, so let's not do that. Let's copy this, come over here, paste it, and everything disappeared. So you cannot make this variable anything that you want. So there are some patterns that you have to follow, the naming convention. So it has to be URL patterns when you are defining URLs. So now let's try this one more time. Python manage.py run server, hit enter. It says that directory static does not exist. URL static. Okay, we have some issues with the static files dirs. Let's go and see what the problem is. Static files dirs ozane static does not exist. Yes, he is right. So now a folder is what we have to create, and we should name it static. Before we have created a unknown file type, but we have to create a folder. So now let's do it one more time. Hopefully it will work this time. So python manage.py run server. So now if I click, and there we go, it says welcome to Django. So as you can see that we had to dig quite a bit. We had to adjust, fine-tune, bug hunt quite a bit just to render welcome to Django printed out on our browser. So this is just the tipping point of an iceberg, which means we have just printed out one single line, and the remaining project is what? Ahead of us. So that's how you set up Django and may enable Django to read your HTML files. I hope this has been informative. I'll see you in the next lecture. Thanks, bye.